Imagine a world where only a select few could read, and education was a privilege, not a right. This was Europe before the Protestant Reformation. The Protestant Reformation transformed education by promoting literacy, expanding access to schooling, and laying the foundation for modern public school system. Some of the key points in the following presentation will be the Reformation's push for literacy, the rise of new schools and universities, the lasting impact of society and modern education. The Reformation's push for literacy. Here you see a Bible from Luther's German Bible from 1534. Martin Luther's idea of sola scriptura, which means scripture alone, meant that every Christian should read the Bible themselves. Before the Reformation, Bibles were only available in Latin and mostly accessible to clergy. Gutenberg's printing press, which was invented in 1440, made mass production of books possible. This led to a higher literacy rate, seen here on the chart. An example is Luther's translation of the Bible into German encouraged the public to read, sparking a literacy revolution. Martin Luther's belief in sola scriptura emphasized the needs for all believers to read the Bible. Education reform meant that Luther and other reformers like John Calvin advocated for universal education, including for girls. Protestant regions established primary schools to teach reading and writing, especially for Bible study. State involvement in education grew, leading to every public school system in the Protestant countries. The rise of schools and universities. You see here is a picture of Martin Luther. Martin Luther and other reformers advocated for universal compulsory education, believing both boys and girls should be able to read. The state-supported schools began appearing in Protestant areas, shifting education away from exclusive church control. Calvin's Geneva Academy became a model for Protestant education, later influencing universities in Europe and America. The Catholic counterpart, the Catholic Church, also responded with educational reforms, founding the Jesuit order in 1540 to train clergy and counter Protestant teaching. The long-term impact on society and modern education. You see here is the timeline of reform movements of the early 1800s, which includes education. A timeline of major educational reform influenced by the Reformation. You also see that the Protestant countries saw higher literacy rates well into modern times. The idea of education involvement the idea of government involvement in education, Perugia's school system was inspired by Protestant education models. The emphasis on reading, personal interpretation, and questioning authority shaped later developments in science, democracy, and critical thinking. An example of this was the early American education, which was the Puritan schools in New England, and was deeply influenced by Protestant ideals. Protestant countries saw higher literacy rates and more educational institutions. The emphasis on reading and personal interpretation influenced the development of critical thinking skills. This laid the foundation for modern education systems, including public schooling and university. In conclusion, The Protestant Reformation's emphasis on literacy and schooling revolutionized education, shaping both religious and secular learning. From public schools to universities, the Reformation's legacy in education is still alive today. The next time you open a book, remember you're living in the world it helped create.